All right. Good evening and welcome everyone to the Curriculum and Instruction Committee meeting. I am Mike Elliott. I am the chair and I am joined by Emily McCormick.
Hello.
Dana Hipser. That's not him. Hello.
Welcome.
So our other members here tonight are Dr. Farina, our Assistant Superintendent, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Kim Bast, our Director of Technology, James Roth, and our Curriculum Supervisor, Sarah Rothena. Okay. So we shall get this meeting into play, and to get started, may I have a motion to have an approval of the March 17th, 2022 minutes?
I will make the motion to approve those minutes.
I will second. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Okay, great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Great.
All right. So, upcoming next is the upcoming professional development. Kim, would you like to tell us about that?
I would actually love to tell you about that. On May 17th, we've shared this information before, but I wanted to make sure that you all knew that we are going to be attending as a K-12 staff the Special Olympics in the morning at our own high school on our track to support our students. And the whole group will be there from 8 to 11. I touched base with Shane Thrush today, who's deep in the throes of planning.
Okay.
And he said that would be great. It's a perfect time frame. He's
Awesome.
really excited to have everybody there. And I think our role will be to cheerlead. He may also put us to work, as he's known to, which is a good thing. And then in the afternoon, there are some, there's an opportunity to do a fitness thing with one of our vendors, just about a 45-minute stretch class, and I think Mrs. Fisher's giving away some exercise bands and just
Okay.
to promote wellness in the district. Then we'll be tuning into a presentation from the IU called Teach Happier. We've had a lot of really positive feedback about it. I think I passed the flyer around last
Oh, with the
time.
flyer and the
Yep,
girl that has the
yeah.
podcast that's like
Yeah.
5 or 6
Yep.
minutes long or something like that?
Yep, and we'll be doing some teacher transition, and then the building principals will have a little bit of time to work with their staff. So it's a packed day. We think it'll do a really nice job of honoring teachers and the work they've done all year,
Okay.
giving them a chance to break and be well, and kind of really be with our students in the morning and support that
Great.
program. So we're excited about that.
And is it like it's like a mandatory event, kind of?
Yes.
Yeah, yes,
Yep,
okay.
yep. And we got to buy T-shirts. Are they coming in, Andrew? We really.
They are,
Okay.
so that closed March 31st. We sold them district-wide to all staff and any families we sent it out to. So those
Cool.
should be coming in,
I would think soon.
Yeah,
In a
I
minute,
mean,
almost.
yeah, Cheryl Stotzenberg at the middle school is coordinating it for us,
Oh,
so.
good.
Okay.
Stotz is
Do
on.
we feed the staff and teachers on these days?
They'll have time for lunch on their own. Dr. Roach is entertaining, like, should we get pretzels and water or things
Yeah.
like that? So he's trying to think about a nice
Okay.
something.
Yeah.
I don't know where that'll land, but I know it's on his mind. And then we will be in June, toward the end of the year, there are 3 half days and some time to wrap up after we've collected all the May data. And because we've made such a concerted effort this year to work with our teachers on day-to-days to, continue to use our MTSS model, we want to close out well. We want to celebrate what went well, and we want to get ready for the fall and setting up some groups and even getting ready for what the students' needs might be right as they come in the fall. So that'll be happening in June. There's no formal in-service day. We're just fitting it in those 3 half days at the end of the year.
Okay.
So
And
the
this
thing-
is after the kids are gone and it's just like close
No,
out?
that'll
Oh,
be
no,
while
it
they're
is?
there. That'll be before
Okay.
the 13th.
Oh,
Yeah, the
okay.
13th is our day 190 this year. I don't know how many teachers I have quite yet because I'm still waiting to process a couple things tomorrow. So that'll be June 13th, which is Monday.
It's a Monday,
Yeah,
right?
this will happen before that, while we
Okay.
still have teachers and students.
Okay.
So what we really did this year with PD, we did a lot of early literacy professional development with our teachers, with our reading specialists, with our instructional coaches. We had TLS, which is Teaching, Learning, and Succeeding, come in and work with a cohort at the 4-5, well actually the full staff at 4-5 and cohorts at middle school and high school. Really focused on effective instruction, differentiated instruction, and how to meet individual student needs. So we got a lot of positive feedback. I'm anxious to see the survey that we'll send out shortly in May to see what they liked about professional development, what they think some of their needs are for next year. When we reflected on what last year's requests were, and we looked at what we were able to provide, we were thrilled that there was such a big overlap. What they wanted, we were able to provide, along with some things that we really wanted to see them to participate in. So it's been good. Yeah. and we're deep in the throes of planning for next year. Which is so totally fun. Nobody fights at all over time. I did have one thing before we get to that, Sarah, on the, and it's my slideshow, so I definitely got it wrong there, but there is a contract that we'd like to put forward on the full board agenda for approval in May, the very beginning of May. We have had MCIU work with us, as I just mentioned, K-3 early literacy, and we contracted with Amber Malloy there to work.
From the MSA?
Yes, June through January for an amount of $10,500. And so we were able to attribute that to a grant where we had to do specific professional development on reading. So that went in one of the ESSER funds, that payment will come out of there. And so the next installment from January until June of this year, I have the other half of that for 10.5, which will be paid for out of Title II funds. That'll come directly from there.
Okay.
Half went, well, a little bit more than half went to TLS, and the other 10.5 will go to Amber at the IU. She's been leading our reading specialist meetings and facilitating with Sarah and Andrea and I. She's been leading professional development on in-service days. She's been doing some coaching consulting, which she'll do again in an upcoming.
Is she on site or is she?
She comes on site for most of it. We've Zoomed a couple of times, but the majority has been on site.
Okay.
All with teachers on site, and then sometimes she Zooms into our reading specialist meetings, but most of the time she's here.
Okay.
So I wanted to be able to put forward that second half of our contract coming out of Title II funds on the board agenda in May.
Yeah.
So what Title II funds are.
So we get federal program funds from it's actually run through the state, but they're federal funds. Title I is for reading and math specifically, and we pay some reading specialists at our Title I buildings, which are Hereford and Marlboro. That's based on low income. And then Title II comes to us to pay for things like professional development, reduction of class size. That's not based on low income, that's just based on the district, how much money we get. We're allocated a certain amount. We have to file all of these grants through an online system called eGrants, which we love so much. And then we also have Title III, which is for our English language learners. That's through the consortium at the IU. So Sarah really manages those funds with our ELD teachers. And then we also have Title IV. And Title IV is for really the integration of technology, kind of moving students forward in 21st century skills. So we use our Title IV money to pay for digital content, Lexia and primarily. And so all of these funds are specific in terms of what we can use them for. And Title II, we've been able to really target with professional development.
And you get the same amount of money every year, or?
It's within a couple $1,000s.
I mean, our Title I allocation has been fairly consistent. Title IV
Yep.
has been consistent. Title II took a little dip.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it rebounded.
Yeah,
this
it's
year.
actually, it stays right around $23,000
Yeah,
every year.
it's-
So sometimes 22.6, sometimes 23.9, but right around in that general
Right.
area.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if that's okay with you, we'd like to move that forward for board approval to finish the professional learning Amber's been doing since January, and then to finish out this year with us.
Do I have a motion?
Do we have to make a motion?
I don't know.
I don't know, we'll do it anyway.
Yeah, would love to make a motion to add that to the agenda for
Thank you.
May?
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah.
workshop?
No, with a voting meeting, whatever the voting meeting is.
So the May
May,
regular meeting.
I know, I
regular
never
schedule.
know what
It's gonna be
that
a very
is, I'm sorry.
exciting- robust meeting.
Yeah.
Robust, very
Lots of
robust.
presentations.
Excellent.
All right, so
I would want
Will you second the motion?
I will second the motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. So yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. We really appreciate your support of having someone come in and do the professional learning. Amber is really the county expert. And the teachers love her. She could read a grocery list and they'd be like, that's great. You know, they
Does she do like different voices or? No, I'm kidding.
no, she has a very excitable voice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we appreciate your support with that.
No,
The
it's
other-
really great.
The other big thing, which obviously our title is curriculum department, we do curriculum review every year with a number of different courses and a number of different writers.
Yep.
And so the culmination of that work generally comes around this time of year when we say, we've spent time reviewing the curriculum, we've spent time reviewing resources, and so now we're asking for purchase to get the product that matches the curriculum that we've written. So what I put on the agenda there for you, I apologize, it's in different formats, and
Yeah, I was,
it was difficult to take everybody's different stuff and roll it in here without asking them to redo it and put it in a specific template. I will work on that for next year, and we'll have a standardized template.
I'd like
So-
everything in Excel on a.
Yes,
No, I'm kidding,
no,
I'm kidding,
no.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding. It's just a joke.
So for 8th grade ELA, that's really the first one that you see listed there under number 1. The curriculum has been refreshed to reflect an alignment with, a closer alignment with PA standards. I mean, we've always been there. It's just always a matter of kind of pulling it a little bit more tightly together. I have lived 1,000 years as a book that the woman who wrote the curriculum really wants to try with the students. So we're going to have her pilot that next year and be able to kind of write some very specific learning targets for that book, while the others will continue to read A Diary of Anne Frank. Both are on the Holocaust, so the standards remain the
Okay.
same. It's
So
just
it's
a
gonna be-
different novel selection. So
Okay.
we're going to see how that goes.
So the teacher wrote the curriculum, and she wants to pull this book in, so we're
Yes.
going to give her a chance to
Yes.
do it where everybody else does
Yeah.
that.
We're actually going to open it up to the other teachers too. There's a new teacher potentially coming in to teach in 8th grade, and we're kind of going to ask her to do the same. And then if anybody else wants to jump on board, we can
Okay.
certainly do that.
Hey, newbie.
Yeah,
You
right,
got-
hey, you're voluntold, that's my
Yeah.
favorite
Right.
word. So that's about the only change with 8th grade English in terms of a text that we're using. We shifted some units, and every time we do curriculum, we really do, and Mr. Doloff, I'm so happy you're here to hear this part of it too. When we do curriculum review, what we try to hone in on is what do we want the kids to get out of this? You know,
Right.
what are some essential questions we're going to be asking students, and what's that enduring understanding, which is that big, broad idea we want them to walk away with. So every time we do curriculum review, we have the opportunity to really focus on that right next to the standard. What is it that we want them to understand? What is it that we want them to do? So know, do, and understand are really the two things.
Okay.
The know is the standard, the do is the skill, the content of the skill, and then the understand is that essential question, that enduring understanding. What is it that we want them to be able to apply to real life? And so anytime we do curriculum review in any subject, that's really where we're hanging in. We're staying really close to those standards, and what do we want the students to take away from that? And so a lot of times when we refresh curriculum, it's in that area of focus. It's in that area of why are we covering this? Why is this an important topic? So
Right.
the teachers do a great job. They spend time training with Sarah and I. There are 4 different workshops we provide, as well as check-ins in between. So we do the teaching of what we want this to look like, then we practice with them. Sometimes we go and sit next to them while they try it out. They'll send me their documents, we'll check them, send back comments, and try to really help them grow in that process.
Do you ever sit in the classroom?
Uh-huh.
too? Yeah,
Oh,
okay, all right.
Not even just as a function of curriculum writing, but just to get a feel for what's happening
Right.
in the classroom. Absolutely.
I think that could be helpful though, too.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we have any credibility if we're not in classrooms, right?
Yeah,
You know, we
right,
have
like,
to be
yeah,
able-
who's this lady that keeps sending me emails?
Yeah,
If you're like
exactly.
there, talking,
Yeah.
I think that
Sometimes
carries
they're
a
like,
lot
oh,
more.
here's Kim, and they shut their door, but it opens. No, I'm teasing. We've always been welcomed. It's really a nice thing
Good.
to be able to do. And the biggest thing we do too, as a part of the curriculum review, is make sure the assessment is as aligned to the standard as it possibly can be. And so that takes work. We're not natural test writers. We're not natural assessment writers. So it does take a lot of time and energy.
It's almost like you're doing it backwards.
And that's exactly what we're doing. It's a backwards design.
Because you're like,
Yeah.
here's the test.
Yeah.
Figure out how to get there, as opposed to I want to teach you this
Well,
idea.
yeah.
And then using the test to figure out what it is I taught you and what I want you to get out of it.
We actually use a process called understanding by design. So we say, what do we want them to understand? And that's not just by chance, it's by design. So we start with what do we want them to know, do, and understand, and then we go to what evidence will we collect, and then we build the bridge in between. So it really is about that. What does the child need to know, do, and understand? Totally built in the standard that PA
Okay.
has put out. And then what evidence will we accept? And that's the core, that's the crux of curriculum writing.
Okay.
And then we start to build that bridge instructionally.
And is there, with regards, because obviously you said that I have lived 1,000 years as a book regarding the Holocaust, and
Mhm.
obviously the diary of Anne Frank is there. Does that come from the state, or is there a conscious decision? How, because obviously it's a very important thing to teach about, the horrors of the Holocaust and what happened at that time.
There actually is mandated instruction on the Holocaust. That is mandated by the state of Pennsylvania. It doesn't necessarily need to land in 8th grade ELA, but there is mandated, there are statutes, I don't know if that's the right word, requirements from PDE that we must teach about the Holocaust. But where we choose to put that, there is a lot of, I mean, what's nice about Pennsylvania is there's a lot of local autonomy over curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We have to follow the standards. How we write that and how we implement it is really under local control.
Yes, I mean, school code is very prescriptive to what subject areas we have to teach, but,
Okay.
you know, there is some discretion on the part of the district on how we achieve that.
Okay. So that way, you know, changing up a book or adding something that might be a little fresher is, you know, like a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
And the state holds us accountable through PSSAs and Keystones, but as you know, that's in 2 subject areas primarily. And then
Yeah.
in 4th and 8th grade, we add science. So ELA math, and then twice before high school, we test them on science. And then in the Keystones, it's at the end of 3 specific exams. That's how they figure out if we're teaching the state standards.
Right.
It's kind of really rough, right? Like, I feel like that's a harsh test. It's 1 test a year. That's why we have to be sure of all the other measures that we're using when we talk about the MTSS process. To make sure kids are on grade level, they are moving in the trajectory they need to be for learning how to read and then reading to learn.
Okay.
I think that ends up being more, I mean, more telling
Yeah.
one, right? I mean, if it's, I don't find the PSSAs to be this, yeah.
They can't.
And the kids don't either.
No,
You
and
know, I mean, it's unfortunate, yeah.
it's the one thing that the state does that they hold us accountable to, so we do it with integrity, of course we do, but we also know that can't be the only measure.
No.
So really cognizant of multiple measures.
Well, is there ever, not to go, but like how they opened up the graduation requirements and it was either this group or the group after us, how they open it up so like, oh, you're a tech kid, you could take the NOCTI because, you know, you can demonstrate your skills there. Do you ever
So
think
every
they might?
student, no, every student has to take them. That they
Okay.
are required by the state of Pennsylvania that every student has to take it.
The
There are a couple,
PSS.
yeah, there's an
Okay.
exception for that, obviously.
Oh, well, yeah,
There's
we're
an
just,
exception
yeah.
with PSSA and Keystone, but the reason the other pathways are there is if they are not successful, if they don't demonstrate proficiency on those state exams, that's when the other pathways come into play.
So this is kind of like here. This is.
Yeah, I don't think this is good.
Well, and, you know, the PSSA it's a systems assessment. And, you know, we always tell kids, this is not really about you. Believe it or not, the inception of the PSSA in Keystone was to identify the success of the school district, not kids. But that's not really how it's internalized.
No, although I always try to tell my kids they got to, you know, hey, get to take mints to school, you know. Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always a treat. So what we have listed there is the different 8th grade texts that we're ordering. That's why the number is so low. We're only piloting with 40 copies. If we do have more
Right.
teachers jump on board, we'll get more copies. That's not
Okay.
necessarily a problem. One of the things that is going to be required that wasn't before in 12th grade is the last lecture. You may have read that or seen. It was a speech given by this man as he was given a terminal diagnosis. And it's a wonderful speech they turned into a book. And the 12th grade teachers are really using it to springboard them into when you're 12th graders. This is where you're going
It's
to
a good work.
It is, it's
I think they,
excellent.
now that you say it,
Yeah.
it's kind of it, yeah.
And they also have, you'll see on the list down here, they have excerpts from other memoirs to try to talk to them just about different text structures and why we have different types of text. We think we'd be done with that in 12th grade, but not as it pertains to memoirs and things like that. So that's the only new addition. The only new addition in 11th grade is Into the Wild.
I love that.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you had said that before when you saw that. So what I put those there because they're the new ones that are embedded in curriculum. The list that you see listed down below are either SR, which is summer reading, or it's just a piece of it. It's just a piece of a memoir. And
So meaning they'll assign them and then like read this essay or read this chapter or read this
or
piece
even
of-
just, they'll pull out an excerpt from a memoir and say,
And analyze the text.
Absolutely. So that's what you see here. You also see literary criticism on there. These are pieces that are being taken. The works are not as a whole, and they might be switched in and out as kids either find it too easy or too difficult. That's the thing with curriculum writing and why Sarah and I are grateful we'll always have jobs. It's never done. Curriculum review is never done. We have to continue to improve and see what worked and see what didn't work. And so
Right.
you see some pieces there that they're going to bring in. The best designed English curriculum has multi-genre texts available in every unit. They're looking at poetry, they're looking at plays, they're looking at criticisms, they're looking at memoirs. I think that is one of the best ways they can really internalize and learn the PA standards the way they're set up now, the PA core standards. So I asked each one of these teachers, as well as the curriculum department chair, to do the investigation that they would need to do to see if any of these texts are objectionable or found objectionable or have been brought up to be pulled in other libraries for other reasons. Not to say that would automatically exclude them, but we
Right.
want to be aware if we're bringing on new text, because I'm going to be 100% honest, I didn't read every one of these. I don't have that time of day. and it's difficult. The teachers who are teaching them have. And I will tell you that I looked at every single memoir they were going to use, and this list shrunk because I absolutely ruled out some that I didn't think were what we needed to do.
Okay.
And I hate to take that on as a singular thing to do, but there were other ways. We said, is there another excerpt that we can use that would get us to the same point that might not have inflammatory language? So we worked together to do that. All of these have been vetted through that process. Do your due diligence. Is there an objectionable list? Is there something that you have seen as objectionable about this? And they didn't find anything, which is why they landed on this list. But I want to sit before you today and say I didn't read every piece of this. I did not read every single word of every single one of these.
There's a lot of books there.
There's a lot of books there. I did read, a couple others this year because we had to, but this is what we would like to say is up for approval. We'd like to move it forward to the full board agenda for approval, and I wanted you to hear from you. We did our due diligence in that area. So that was just English. You'll see that business and accounting is also included there. We did curriculum review this year on accounting 2 and 3, 1 and 2, and then we're working on an accounting 3 course as well that was included in there. You'll also see the world language texts that have been requested for Spanish 3 and 4, and then French 1 and 2 and 3. I have to tell you, in the midst of COVID, these teachers did an excellent job of coming to our meetings, absorbing the training, doing their best to put out a product, agreeing to meet with us so we could kind of critique their work. So this is their diligence after looking at all of the things. I did pull together a total amount of what this would run us. The other thing you see on there is middle school PE equipment. Cheryl Stotzenberger and John Bertain did a good job of writing curriculum for middle school health, and they've always wanted to do more with personal fitness. And so they want, that's practical in this day and age. And so they're looking for us to begin to start to build an area and some type of equipment that would allow for a personal fitness investigation. So you see dumbbells there, you see stretching, the tubes, the stretching things, and rubber kettlebells. I don't know what they are.
Bands?
Bands, that's the word. Stretchy things. I don't know how to do it squat either.
Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah. So those are where they're starting. I know Stotts trimmed that list for me because I said, let's make it directly related to the curriculum that we just wrote. And this fits in with what they're asking the kids to do in terms of personal fitness. That doesn't mean we won't come to you in a year or two and be like, hey, how about some spin bicycles and how about some rowers? But for right now, that was a good list to get us started.
No, I think that's great because to your point, it is very practical. And it's also kind of nice that in gym class, maybe there's some stuff, like, because they do a lot of competitions and stuff like that. So maybe it's kind of nice that there's something that isn't necessarily competition for the kids that maybe aren't. Because there are some kids that are really into that, but there are some kids that are just like, I don't really want to get into all that.
You're competing against yourself, against your own personal best to improve your own fitness. And sometimes that's a nice break from competing with others and feeling like you're on stage.
Right, yeah.
It's just good to know as you grow older too, that there are things you can do and you can fit and do those things. So, yeah.
Yes.
I have a question about it. I remember a few meetings back, we had talked about a Spanish professor, I think, that was going to, or Spanish teacher professor, that was going to teach or build the curriculum for the Spanish 4.
Yeah.
Are there any books in here for that?
No, because
She's just designing next year.
She's just getting it.
Okay.
or she has it, or they're going to use the Spanish 3 book. She's been working on it all year, the Spanish 4,
Okay.
but there aren't specific materials for that. We are sending them for AP training this summer. Rob Carpenter and I are sending them for AP training so that AP after 4, or the Spanish after 4 can be an AP course.
Oh.
So there won't be a Spanish 4 next year? It will be
There will
designed?
be, no, they just didn't need materials for it.
Okay.
They just
Oh,
didn't need,
okay.
they're either using the Spanish 3 or some things that they have. And then as they build the AP, Emily, there maybe need to go back and rebuild, but
Got
they
it.
likely wouldn't need more resources. When we do write the AP, we will need resources for that for sure,
Okay.
which will probably be next year because they've had the training and then we write the curriculum and then we order the supplies.
Part of the reason for the need is this because we roll this stuff out to 8th graders,
Yep.
right?
Right, and so now we get the extra year, yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
totally
It's
awesome.
a good
Yeah.
problem.
And how are we finding that in regards to that topic and talking about adding the AP and stuff like that, how are we finding that those language courses are doing on the 8th grade level?
From everything that I've heard, the students are very happy to have it at that level. They love the teachers that come down and work with them.
Yep.
I mean, Petra's always a big hit. She's a big hit in 8th grade too. So it really makes a difference in terms of building the programs you need and the
Yeah.
numbers that you need at the high school level. So by all accounts I've heard, they're loving it and they're doing really well. And I know you work with.
Yeah, I work very closely with the Spanish teacher that works at the middle school, and she said her kids are, they're loving it. Her class is extremely popular, and the kids are doing well.
Is that
Good.
Mrs. Hartley?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
my
Yes.
daughter loves Mrs. Hartley. So,
Yeah.
She was a great find.
And she's doing like some different things, like she had it's almost like a mystery, murder mystery, but like the clues were in Spanish and all the kids had to go in and figure
Oh,
out
I
who
gotta ask,
done
I
it.
gotta ask Quinn about that.
Yeah, it was neat,
That's awesome.
so just doing it in different,
Yeah.
that was one of the things that she came home and said right away versus,
Yeah. Like, what'd you do
some of the
today?
other
Yeah,
stuff that,
yeah.
she's not happy about, so.
But it is, I mean, just, again, to echo your point, I mean,
Yeah.
I know my kid likes it a lot,
Right.
so
Mhm.
he thinks it's cool, so.
So with the expenses that we have written there, the only thing that's not on here is a lot of those books are summer reading, and the families are expected to buy those books. But I said to the department chair, maybe we could pick up 3 to 5 copies to have for kids who might not
I love
have
that
them.
idea.
So when you take a look at that list there and you see summer reading, I didn't put a cost there. I wanted to see if that was okay with you. It's likely not going to be more than a couple $1,000s, and we're way below where we thought we would be. We'll take a
Good.
look at the total at the bottom, it's 56. We had thought, and I don't know, I think I have everybody's, but I'm not 100% sure. If I forgot anybody, they'll come back in the June one for or May for June.
Okay.
But I was pretty explicit. So even with the amount that we have there, if we're able to pick up 3 to 5 additional copies in case students can't afford their own, I'd like to have those on file with the school. So you can see I wrote that under number, this is a big agenda, under number 4, B4, says other English selections newly added, no cost, may purchase 3 to 5 copies for students if needed. But I don't have a dollar amount with that.
Oh, yeah, I see that, yeah, before. Oh, it's right on the first page.
Oh,
Number
4. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
I
was
went
looking
before,
past
before,
here.
I know.
Because I was looking at the title, so this 56,000
Where
is
do you see
for,
the 50?
right here at the top of this page.
Oh, there it
Is
is.
that for the books and the gym equipment?
Yes,
Okay.
that's everything all together.
Mhm.
I added down, and when it's Sarah's turn to talk, I'm gonna double check my math. Just to make sure I have it right. I did double check it, but I'm looking at that number and I'm like, it looks so small, but I think I'm right. I think I checked it a couple of times.
Okay.
So we would ask that we would be able to put those forward on the school board agenda for approval.
I would make a motion to move forward.
Second. Discussion? Did you ever read The Road by Cormac McCarthy?
Never. I really should, I know, not bad.
Oh, that's good.
I'll read it, I'll read it.
It's really good.
Okay.
One of my faves. Okay, any further discussion?
No,
Okay.
it's fantastic.
All right, cool. That's
The teachers worked hard. I really want to make that known. I want to give credit where credit is due. They came to the meetings, they met with us one-on-one, they did the legwork, they put up with me asking for more and different. Because
Good.
it's also curriculum isn't intuitive. You do need someone to kind of lead you through the process. We're nerds, we love that, but
Yeah.
it's, again, not intuitive and people don't always love it. I'm a nerd, I'm sorry, I shouldn't call you a nerd.
No, I am too. I am too.
And is this is all for, that's it? There's nothing?
So
that comes out of this committee?
For
changes or anything like that? There's no math class needs something in 5th grade or something like that?
No, this is just as a result of the curriculum review that we did. Sarah, can you page
Because they were just
forward?
only things on the list this
Yeah.
year.
Let me
I
show
think,
you.
yeah, but just
okay.
random sort
No,
of.
it's great.
Yeah, go back one. If you click on writers, I did want to show you the list. So you can see, we're over on the 21-22 list, and you can see that the things that we had scheduled were English 8, health, which we didn't need any resources for. Sometimes you do a review and it's a non-monetary one. Those are my favorite.
We like those too.
Yeah, we like those a
too.
lot. And sometimes you do need things. So as you can see, there are the list of all the courses. Tech Ed was there. They had some things on a previous list that they were just things up to replace in the room. So we had done that with money
Okay.
that we had. You see the English classes there, you see the world language, and you see the accounting. So
Okay.
anything that needed a monetary purchase is on this agenda. Anything that did not, we're just happy to have refreshed the curriculum, and
Okay.
you can do it with the existing materials and resources that we have.
All right, rock on.
Remind me that I said that next week when I go, or next
Is that
month.
is that the full list? Is
That's
there
the-
anything down below? that-
No.
Okay.
Sarah, page down just a little bit, please, just the total amount that we pay. And then 2023, if you want to page down a little bit, preview for May, you'll see that we'll be doing a lot of science review. We'll
Next
add,
year.
yeah.
And that'll
because-
be for like
Yeah.
this time next year, we'll be sitting
Yes.
here and we'll be
Yeah.
talking about science and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So May will give you a little bit of a preview of who's writing for next year and what's happening. The
Okay.
state of Pennsylvania is in the process of adopting next generation science standards, which will be a large shift from the academic standards that we have right now.
Ooh.
Most of the textbooks and materials have already been written for NGSS because the rest of the world picked it up and ran with it years ago when it was proposed. So I've been talking with the high school and the middle school and the 4-5 science teachers about what we currently do, what we currently like, how we might be able to integrate what we have and really highlight NGSS. So
Yeah.
it'll be a heavy lift. There'll be a lot of science work next year. So
Okay.
you don't see much else in there. What I will add is the AP Spanish that will be brought in, and there's a couple more that I know of that I don't have in there yet. So that's just,
Right,
that's,
because
this
the
is just
AP
a
Spanish
preview. You're not
is
supposed
we're
to see
adding,
this, until May.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. And we try to spend around the same amount on curriculum writing every year, so it's around 25,000, that's in the budget.
And I know that you said this, but I'm going to ask again. What is the cycle that, so when will we be back to English again, I guess?
6 years.
So
yeah.
it takes us 6 years
Yeah.
to do a full,
Mhm. And it doesn't mean we don't make improvements in the meantime.
sure, okay.
Right.
And they're living and breathing documents, but we don't do the deep dive and the look at the materials and the try to do, we just make do with what we have, and sometimes we need to find something supplemental, and we'll bring that to you for approval as it comes up.
Okay.
It's about a 6-year cycle.
So hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
One other thing that I don't have on there, but I do have on our agenda, and I didn't want to put it off another month because there is a sensitive timeline. Every year, the state now gives us the opportunity to apply for a FID day application. So
Yes.
it's that flexible instructional day. So we've been doing this for a number of years. The window is open right now, and they're asking for our applications to be in on June 1st. So for us to go forward and do the same, it's the same application we did last time. I've had to refresh just a couple of the lesson plans. They wanted more specific standards in. So it's ready to go. I didn't submit it yet because it needs to be board approved and then signed by Judy as the board president.
Right.
So I'd like to have that on the agenda with an attachment of, the actual application again. I'd like to ask if that could be on our May agenda for approval so that we can meet the timeline necessary.
I'll make a motion for that. I don't see any reason why.
Yeah, I'll second that.
There's nothing different about our application. It's in a different system this year because they're putting everything in this new future-ready portal, which is nice. Everything's in one place. So how I entered it looks different, but I entered the same lesson plans that I did from last year with a little bit of tweaking.
Okay. And I would assume that the plan is kind of the same as we've kind of been using it, that it doesn't mean it's the end of snow days. We
Right.
still do that from time to time because
Yeah.
that's a cool memory for kids to
Yeah.
have and ability to
Well,
offer that.
sometimes.
And sometimes it's
Yeah.
a good mental health
Yeah.
break. right?
But also, sometimes technology will fail. Our fit days are a little bit dependent on technology. So if we have a kind of a day where nobody's going to have connectivity, a fit day, I mean, a lot of it can be asynchronous, but we want them to be able to connect with teachers at some point.
Yeah, but if
So
everybody on
additional
that
stuff,
side
yeah.
out towards Hereford, nobody has power, I think.
Sometimes that happens. Yeah.
You know, because that does happen. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
so,
we'll put that forward, and I'll actually have the actual application with the letter and all the things. I didn't think to attach it here because it's
It's
the
okay.
same as last year.
motion, second, right? We did it?
Yeah,
Okay.
we did it.
Discussion, yes?
Yes.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, okay.
Okay, the last thing I'm going to let Sarah talk about, and Dr. Farina and I and Sarah were in a meeting today talking a little bit more about it, but UPOLA for next year.
Okay.
So as
Sarah's
you know-
been in charge of it, so I'm going to let her handle the whole thing while I check my math.
Okay.
Although I'm thankful you are checking math, because I always get teased for mine, so it's nice to not be teased for the math side. So as you know, our UPOLA is our virtual program, the
Yep.
EverPerk Online Learning Academy. And it was known as the Personalized Learning Program prior to COVID. And it was an opportunity for students to take classes online that may not have been offered at the high school or might not have fit into their schedule, and to accommodate some different situations. And so as COVID came, it morphed into UPOLA. We changed the name, and our program is offered asynchronously through Edgenuity, which recently changed its name to Imagine Learning, but we'll go with Edgenuity for now. So the goal of our program is really to deliver a personalized learning experience for students with identified needs to engage them in standards-aligned program that yields academic success and preparedness for career in college. That's the overall goal of the program. All of the courses that are taken through UPOLA are taught by highly qualified teachers that are certified in the state of Pennsylvania. So though they are not, EverPerk teachers, they are certified to teach this class, and they are aligned to the standards that we attempt to meet as well with our courses. So moving into next year, UPOLA will not be offered for learners in K-5. Parents can request it, however, it will not be open to learners in K-5. And that's similar to what we did previously.
Okay.
It was only open to 6th to 12th grade prior to the pandemic.
Well, then what do you mean by parents can request?
So if there's a parent who has a very specific need or a very specific situation that might warrant a placement in online learning, we would ask that they fill in, we have a survey that parents can, an application that parents can fill out just showing their interest in the program. That would then come to the UPOLA team, as well as the guidance counselor and the principal. We would come together as a team, discuss that concern or that need, and then make a determination as a team whether or not UPOLA is the appropriate placement for that student.
Thank you.
And we do have a couple of families right now who've been in UPOLA. I think there's one in Hereford, one in Marlboro, and maybe two in 4 or 5, who their kids are thriving, and they do want to stay. And so that is reasonable. So we'll have those meetings and we'll have those conversations, and it's like.
So we'll still give them opportunity.
Sure, we don't want to cut off a child who's thriving and may have, as Sarah mentioned, a specific need to stay there. We got some really nice compliments from parents this week whose kids are in it and love it. So.
At the K-5 level?
K through 5?
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah, just K-5 right now. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought that was really important to say. I don't want anybody to panic and be like, my child
No, I appreciate the
can't."
distinction, yeah.
And
that's
principals have reached out to the families already and said, hey, here's the deal for next year. But by and large, K-5, they've all reached out, so they know they have the opportunity to talk to the team and to stay enrolled with that. So they do a good job.
How many do you anticipate in 6 through 12?
So requests,
Yeah, oh, no, I was just gonna say,
requests
Yes.
and eligibility are different.
yeah.
I was gonna ask.
We want to make sure that this program offers, an opportunity for kids to experience academic success. And so some students learn very, very well online. Others, it just might not be the right fit. And so we might come up with some alternative solutions with them as a UPOLA team to meet their academic needs. And so what we've proposed as far as requirements for UPOLA entry for next year for that 6 to 12 group is 6 to 12 students can enroll in UPOLA classes that are not offered at school or they can't fit into the schedule. For example, we have a student right now who is deeply rooted in the Chinese curriculum in our Edgenuity platform. That's not something we offer at the high school, and they love the course. And so the student's moving into Chinese 2 next school year. So that's an option that they have.
Is it Mandarin or is it?
It's Mandarin.
It's Mandarin,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So they offer a couple different Latin, things like that, like different classes that we might
Yeah.
offer the high school that can't fit in their schedule. They can also enroll in UPOLA if they are involved with a rigorous program or in athletics or another unique situation. We've got competitive gymnasts that are in the program. We have students that are involved in activities that kind of take them out of the traditional school day.
Yeah.
So they'll spend part of their day at the high school and then the other part of their day on virtual classes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
There's all kinds of unique situations. Students who are enrolled in virtual program prior to COVID and have performed well. We've got kids who are very rooted in the program who are thriving. And we certainly don't want to uproot them now when they're in a position where they're being very, very successful. So they will be able to maintain their enrollment in UPOLA. We also have the opportunity for 6 to 12 students based on administrative recommendation to be in UPOLA. So for a variety of reasons that might occur.
Okay.
And then if parents would like to request their child to be in UPOLA, they can go through a request and review process to petition for entry. We just want to make sure that it is the right fit.
Right.
And that we can meet their needs and they can be academically successful.
So if somebody wants their kid to be in it and they feel it's going to be a best fit, is it one of those things like, obviously you have a request and review process, and I know this is more of a, depends on who's looking at it, nuance sort of thing, but is it one of those things like you got to jump through like a million hurdles?
No.
Or is it like, okay.
So previous to the pandemic, what we had is there was a Google form on our website where the parent or the student went on, they filled in their interest. That got sent to Mrs. Stevens and then myself, and that elicited a phone call. We had a meeting with the counselor, the school administrator, and the family to discuss the program.
Okay.
That process is coming back. And the other piece that's going to be in the survey is just kind of a self-reflection inventory that asks students to rate themselves on certain behaviors that we know make success in online programming, such as I have a quiet place to work and study. I learn well independently, or I'm comfortable communicating with a teacher that I might not have seen in person. That's a big barrier sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's a Google form, then it comes it'll come initially right to me, and then we'll set up a team meeting and really have a discussion about what's bringing the family to UPOLA, what the needs are, and how this program may or may not best fit their situation.
Okay. All right, cool.
Can I ask a question? So that first one, if there is a course that a student, they don't have to either be in person or UPOLA, if there is a course, they can take that, apply to take it through UPOLA?
Yep.
And just because it doesn't fit in their schedule is sufficient enough? I mean,
So the one nuance is that it's a course that we can't offer in our continuum. So like, for example, I mean, we've done discrete math. It doesn't live in our curriculum, but we have kids transition.
They can't fit health they can't fit 11th grade health in to their schedule. Can they do that through UPOLA? Or apply?
Well, we have an online health class that they could take.
We have our own course.
We have our own course, right?
Yeah.
But
yes, they can
That's
take it,
not
yeah.
freely offered
Yeah,
or accepted
no, we-
commonly, so
Oh,
to take it
no.
online.
We have an online health course that we've had other children who did not have that in their schedule who took it.
And how can we appeal to get that? I'm sorry, I'll follow up with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to-
It's working with the
talk to
counselor.
Frida,
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
it's
just a
working
course,
with the
it should just be a course request.
Our counselors are very well versed in kind of mixing and matching when situations like that arise, so we definitely encourage you to reach out to their counselor.
And we've definitely done it previous to when we called it UPOLA for kids who have out-sequenced our program. High-performing math students, foreign language students less commonly taught, or, just college courses in general. To answer your question specifically, we have about 22 middle school students
Thank
and
you.
about 38 at last course selection high school students.
Thank you.
We had 91 high school students in UPOLA last year, this year.
That's gonna be
So,
It's actually good. That's good to hear. They're
yeah,
migrating back.
Yeah.
those were requests, but this criteria, may have some following the process or requesting others to come brick and mortar because they were not experiencing success, which, you know, we don't want kids to continuously underperform or not perform to their ability or just need more support.
Right, and if it's something that we can do in the building is to offer that support to make them successful, we should, obviously that's the thing we should try to do to get them in the
And I think
buildings.
one of the important conversation points that we've had multiple times is the reason we made that recommendation for elementary is because we all know transition to secondary classes, there's a lot of unwritten things that kids learn, things outside of the curriculum, that exposure to their peers, to extracurriculars, to co-curriculars, to clubs, that we believe are very important for kids to experience.
I agree.
And just resiliency, being in that kind of environment. So we just want to make sure families know what is available to them, even when they are or may be in UPOLA. And our hope is to have them back brick and mortar so we can support them. You know, our mental health services are certainly something we can provide virtually, but it probably is not enough, you know, so.
No, the benefits you have from being in person,
Sure.
you know, get those experiences, it's okay.
And I think to Sarah's point, one of the questions that, you know, we're asking is, tell us why.
Yeah.
Is it something within the district's control of our program that we need to attend to? You know, and that's important for us to know.
Right.
You know, we want our families to feel safe, to be able to feel, you know, their kids are being educated and we're responding to their needs. So if it's any of those things, how can we help? How can we make it better? So,
Right.
you know, that may or may not be it. They may just prefer that platform. So.
Okay. Is there any sort of, you know, as far as the UPOLA, UPSD, is there any sort of like student relationship counselors for, you know, maybe the students like taking all the online stuff but still wants to like run track or play field hockey or something like that? How does that work?
So as a UPOLA student, you are still UPSD student and are welcome to all of the perks, the coming over perks. So we have UPOLA students that are athletes. We have some that are in clubs. We have many that are instrumental students. They're in choir. They're involved in all kinds of activities. I just talked to a UPOL family the other day. The young lady's getting ready for prom. She's very excited. So they have full access to any of our activities. If there's grade level field trips, we did business tours a few weeks ago at the high school. They're welcome to attend those.
How do you make sure they're aware of that?
So our counselors do a phenomenal job of maintaining that communication. They make sure that they send out emails. So these students
Bless
remain
you.
on, like, bless you, our email lists. And then the counselors will also reach out specially to them to say, hey, I just want to make sure you saw this. This year we had a feature of the program called Connections Coordinators, which were upper perk teachers that were specifically assigned to groups of kids just to help them maintain that communication.
Oh,
They
that's
did a
good.
great job.
They did an amazing job. And though we might not have as many next year, we are still going to have something similar, so that way those students maintain their communication, but they receive all of the skylarks from the administrators, all of the emails. They are still an upper perk student in every sense of the word. They're able to come in and do their state assessments, PSATs, SATs.
Well, I think it's nice that we're doing that because you want to cover your bases, you know, you just don't want to like, well, didn't you see the email blast? Like if you have somebody following up.
Right.
And do the people, when they follow up, is that something that like they note in the student's file? Like if there's
They
like
keep logs for us.
They keep logs? Okay, all right. Thank you.
And yeah, they maintain those lines of communication because no matter, you know, whether they're in front of us or behind the computer, they're still our kids.
Yeah, still, yeah.
Yeah, so we want them to feel a part of our community as well.
No, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if there's anything, oh, this is all of that.
Yeah, we're all good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the last
it.
item we had.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's the last item on the official agenda. Do we have to make any more motions about anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. We'll do 5 minutes. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask of us before we move on to our next meeting? Oh, we have 2. Okay, so what we'll do,
100% participation from.
you cool with me? Ladies first?
That
Okay.
never happens.
Go ahead.
Ladies first, right?
Yes.
Okay, am I good back here?
Yeah, you're
fine. Yeah.
All right, Christine Schmoyer, Pennsburg. So I was here at the last meeting, and in response to Mr. Doloff, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. I agree. I think that we do need more civics in our class. I think about the kids and their knowledge of how a bill becomes law. How is someone elected that it's not a popular vote? Those types of things. So I think that that's very important. Where I disagree is teaching what is a good American and whether kids are civically active. I believe kids today are immensely civically active. We had that great rally, I don't know what it's called, the peace.
Oh, that the two kids put on.
The two kids put on,
Right.
right. They
Yep.
were just, a couple years out of high school, and they pulled together that rally for peace. So, kids are standing up for what they believe in today. It may not fit the design of the American, the good American, where Mr. Doloff mentioned that kids aren't willing to pick up a gun and go fight for their country. Well, we also don't have someone right next door that's infringing on our land. Canada's not going to come after us, and Mexico's not going to come after us. So, someone is going to come from overseas, so it's a very different scenario. But I do believe that I would disagree with his definition of what a good American citizen is, and unless the district is willing to teach all interpretations of what a good American is, it cannot just teach one interpretation of what a good American is. And with the restrictions that parents are asking for, with the books and the video recordings in the classroom and all of those things, I don't see how you can teach the variety that the kids deserve to be taught, in my opinion. I believe that we need to expand the kids' experiences, where many parents believe that we need to restrict. So while I agree that yes, civics is important to be taught, when I was in high school, so long ago, we had a whole year of civics. And I'm not, in talking to my own kids, I'm not sure, they don't talk a lot about it. And I asked them questions specifically, and they didn't, either they didn't retain it or they didn't learn it. So I do agree that more civics needs to be taught, but I think it stops when you talk about what is a good American, unless the district is going to teach all of what that is and not just a television version of what that is, because there is no one definition of a good American, and a lot of families are not willing to discuss multiple versions. So that's my opinion, and I believe in others' group. So there you go.
We're actually closer than you think.
Okay.
We're actually very, very close. First of all, I want to thank Kim she sent me a ton of stuff, more than, I could ask for, and he's been very supportive of helping me understand, looking under the hood about, our U.S. history curriculum and our civics curriculum, and I'm very appreciative of that. I have very strong feelings about teaching American history, the good, the bad, the ugly, and civics, the role and responsibility of citizens. And, my hope and the reason I'm here and have brought this subject up is that I would love to see Upper Perkiomen to be a shining star, at least in Montgomery County, when it came to U.S. history and civics. Helping our kids understand our founding principles, which kind of sets the framework for our history, where we failed, where we've excelled to create a more perfect union, and then their responsibility as citizens, regardless of their, however they come down politically. I don't care how they come down politically. What I care about is that they understand our country and what we stand for from a founding principle perspective, and what their responsibilities are to continue. for me, it's a real personal thing. I served in the war, and many people died around me serving their country. So love of country, good, bad, or indifferent, but we take our freedom for granted. And again, I don't care about your politics, but our freedom is important, and we need to protect that, and we need to educate our kids what their responsibilities are to carry that freedom forward. And that's why I've been interested in coming and encouraging this committee to really continue to look at what we're doing in the district from a U.S. history and civics perspective. Now, the things that Kim has sent me really have helped me understand the work that's being done. I have a couple of questions. You know, one of them was, or is, the review that we've just been done on civics and history. And, you know, what did we learn and what have we done? Maybe I'll ask you several questions and then you can answer them. Because the disappointment when I saw her up there, I didn't see any more money being spent on civics or history revisions. I didn't see anything. So I'm kind of interested in that. I'm interested in what we've learned from the 8th grade civics testing, and have we done anything? And then the final question, and I love the introduction to political science in 12th.
Yeah.
The question is that a requirement, or is that, you know, an elective? And how many kids are taking that course? Because I thought that course was outstanding.
So just for frame of reference, Joe, I was a high school government teacher. That's what I did for 12 years at Nazareth, among other things. But so it was one of my great loves to teach that to 11th and 12th grade students as a teacher. I'll give as quick as a reply as I can with the time.
Yeah, just because we do want to.
And then we can
with
follow up
respect.
afterwards. So the reason you didn't see anything up there for social studies is we just finished that review. So that won't come back around again until 5 or 6 years from now, when we start to take a look at reviewing the curriculum. One of the things I referenced earlier tonight was essential questions and enduring understandings. What came out of the last review was a real fundamental understanding of why we're doing what we're doing. And in fact, some of the essential questions, look, I got ready for it, were literally about what are the roles and responsibilities of a citizenship? What does it mean to create a new nation? How is it that a constitution written 200 years ago, it's the oldest and the shortest in the world, still governs how we live in the United States? It helped us hone in on why we're teaching what we're teaching. And so I think that gave clarity and purpose, and sometimes it provides that compelling, why do I have to learn this for a student? So we really do encourage teachers to work with those essential questions and enduring understandings by posting them in the classroom. This is why we need to learn this. So we won't do that full review again. We did learn that we need to be very closely tied to the standards, and that our students have at their fingertips tons and tons of information. So whereas when I went to high school, I had to memorize all these things, like the order of presidents, I can Google that now. We want to help our students become critical consumers of information. What is it that I can trust? If I simply do a Google search, what's the best result to go with? How do I know that what I find on the internet is true? So using the skills that we now have to teach them, so that they're not just looking and believing every single thing that they look at, that they're looking for multiple points of view. So a lot of that came out in our review as well. And a re-emphasis with our teaching staff to say kids should not know where you stand. They should not know where you stand on any of the issues. You're here to present information in a neutral manner and allow them the time and the space to look at factual information, form opinions, and hopefully reach the understandings that we've outlined in the courses. So that's as quick as I can say. I don't know how many of your questions I got even in there, but
Just the last one, 12th grade, political science, is that a requirement?
It is
or
an elective. It's an elective.
Make it a requirement.
There used to be,
Make it a
in
requirement.
Pennsylvania, there used to be a requirement for government
That's a
to be
great
taught.
course.
It used to be a requirement, so I can look back into that and see.
Great course.
I like it. I taught it, so I love it.
Well, that makes
Not
sense.
quite the same course, but that was my love when I was a teacher.
Well,
2 years ago.
right? Well,
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate the questions, and I will always talk about civics and history. It's my love. I'm right there with you.
and obviously, thank you for your service.
Yes.
Thank you both
Yes.
for
Yes.
speaking
Yes.
tonight.
Yes.
You know, it's really great to have members of the community come out and talk, and that's why we try to have the time at the end, and, you know, so we could kind of, you know, go back and forth about some of the stuff that's important to us as individuals and members of this community. And just being here and talking is, you know, showing good civic duties, and that's, you know, being involved, that's a big part of it. So,
I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
second, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
No, thank you. Thanks. Yeah,
Really
no,
very,
that's
I think it's very informative board update that we need 100% audience participation.
We're close.
good. We did have 100% audience participation.
I appreciate it.
That should get you-